Hi everyone, it's Heather and welcome back to my channel. Jolene says hi too. Today I am going to be talking about my October TBR. It is getting to be spooky season. Everyone is talking about their spooky picks and I am absolutely no different. I love October, I love Halloween, I love pumpkins and being basic, and I love all of it. I am participating in 2 readathons in the month of October. Trick or Treat-a-thon is going on for the entire month of October, and I'm going to link to announcement videos. There's a bunch of people hosting that one, and then I'm also participating in Fortnight Frights that's hosted by the Artisan Geek, and that is from October 18th to 31st. So I'll be going over my Trick or Treat-a-thon TBR first and then getting into my Fortnight Frights TBR. So the prompts for Trick or Treat-a-thon are all related around like creatures, but they have a prompt associated with the creature. So the first prompt is witch. Read a book with a female lead who will probably hex you if you mess with her. And for this I'm going to be choosing Thejumbies, I believe that's how you pronounce it, by Tracy Baptiste. And this is a graphic novel, I think it's a middle grade, that is based off of Caribbean folklore. Okay, so I'm just gonna read the general synopsis. Corinne isn't afraid of anything. Certainly not Jumbies, they're just tricksters that parents make up to frighten their children. Then one night Corinne chases an agouti all the way into the forbidden forest, those shining yellow eyes that followed her to the edge of the trees. They couldn't belong to a Jumbie, or could they? So because she's not afraid of anything and I think she's gonna be like going on an adventure, I thought that this would fit that prompt really well. The second prompt is vampire. Read a book with a love interest that you wouldn't meet in a dark alley, but you would want to. And I don't really know if this fits that prompt because I haven't read it, but so a lot of people were recommending like YAs for this. I'm not super into YA, but this Marina by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, I believe is a gothic young adult story. So, and it says when 15-year-old Oscar suddenly vanishes from his boarding school in Barcelona, no one knows his whereabouts for 7 days and 7 nights. His story begins when he meets the strange Marina while he's exploring an old quarter of the city. She leads Oscar to a cemetery where they watch a macabre ritual that occurs on the last Sunday of each month. At exactly 10 o'clock in the morning, a woman shrouded in a black velvet cloak descends from her carriage to place a single rose on an unmarked grave. When Oscar and Marina decide to follow her, they begin a journey that transports them to a forgotten post-war Barcelona and reveals a dark secret that lies waiting in the mysterious labyrinth beneath the city streets. So I don't even know if Marina is a love interest, but I don't read a lot of romance and I really want to read this, and I'm gonna say that it counts. And maybe there's vampires in here. I don't know. I haven't read it. So the next prompt is werewolf, to read a book only at night. And for this, I'm going to be reading The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. My boyfriend and I actually talked about reading this together out loud before bed, and it's pretty short, so I thought this would be a good fit, and I've been wanting to read this too. I just recently picked this up from a thrift store. It's the book that the movie with Daniel Radcliffe is based on, and all I know about it, it's a classic ghost story. It's a chilling tale of a menacing specter haunting a small English town, and I don't want to know much more than that because it is a small book. I haven't seen the movie, but my boyfriend has and really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to read this. So the next prompt is ghost. Read a book set in a place that you want to haunt, and I'm kind of cheating on this one too because I'm gonna be reading Bellman in Black by Diane Setterfield, and this is a story about a boy who shoots a crow or something and then forgets about it, and a mysterious stranger comes back into his life, and when he's an adult and is married and has forgotten about killing the bird, and the mysterious stranger propositions him for something, and they start a business called Bellman and Black. I don't know if this is a place that I would want to haunt, but Diane Setterfield is the author who wrote The 13th Tale, and that was such an atmospheric, creepy book that I have a feeling that this will be sort of the same vibes and very atmospheric and a place that I would want to inhabit. So that is my cheating my way into this prompt. The next prompt is Demon, read a book that has multiple POVs. And for this, I'm going to go with The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. So this is set half in 1950, half in 2014. So I'm assuming we're getting different perspectives, different points of views from those two time periods. I believe it's like half ghost story, half murder mystery. There's a girl who went missing from a boarding school in the 1950s, and I believe a family member is looking into it in 2014, and they, like, it's haunted, the boarding school is, and no one's really sure what happened to the girl or something like that. I love boarding school stories, I love ghost stories, I love murder mysteries, but I have heard mixed things about this book. I've heard some people love it and some people don't love it. So I will read it for my own opinion on it. Next prompt is Siren, read a book that someone has recommended to you. And I am going to be reading We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This hasn't been directly recommended to me like by a person in my life, but Jean from Jean Bookish Thoughts recommended it. She says it's like one of her all-time favorite spooky fall reads, and I really trust her judgment, so I'm taking it as a personal recommendation. I don't know too much about what this is about. I think it's about this girl who lives in a maybe castle, and a lot of her family members have died mysteriously, and her story, I think. I don't think I've ever read a Shirley Jackson story. And for a lover of horror, Halloween, all things spooky, that is shameful. So we're changing that this October. The next prompt is Faye, to read a book that you have been too scared to pick up. And so I'm not scared, like I don't think this book is scary, but I haven't picked it up because I think I'm going to love it so much that I've been nervous to pick it up because I don't want to be wrong. So that's The Prestige by Christopher Priest. This is a book about dueling illusionists set in 1878. It's two young stage magicians clash in the dark during the course of a fraudulent seance. From this moment on, their lives become webs of deceit and revelation as they vie to outwit and expose each other. And I don't know what it is about dueling magicians or illusionists. I just am fascinated by that. I don't even think I've read that many things featuring dueling illusionists, but I am so excited to read this, and I'm scared that I'm not going to love it just because I'm so picky. But I'm gonna like remove all of my expectations and hopes and desires before I read this book so that I won't be scared going into it. And the last prompt is Zombie, read a book that features a disaster. And I had kind of a hard time fulfilling this prompt, but I'm going to be reading Blindness by Jose Saramago. I hope that's how you say it. Jose Saramago. So it's about a pandemic where people go blind and authorities put them in a mental hospital, I believe, and then it's about all of the horrors that happen within that mental hospital. Those are all of the books for the Trick or Treat-a-thon, and now going into Fortnight Frights. So I made a little thing in my bullet journal. It's so terrible, I know, but there's a little bingo board that Artisan Geek made, and I just copied it out. And I have 2 bingos that I want to get to. These are all books that I have requested from the library, but I don't have yet because the readathon's not for a few weeks and I don't want to potentially lose them, so I don't have them. And I'm going to look at my computer to look at the synopses because these are books that I learned about through the compendium that the Artisan Geek put together for the readathon, and they're, I think, lesser known works that are all focused on diversifying your reading within the genre of horror. And so I have not heard about any of these books before. I don't know anything about them, so I'm just gonna like read from Goodreads. The first prompt that I'm fulfilling is to read a book by a Latinx author, and I'm actually going to be reading Blindness to fulfill this prompt. The second prompt is written before 1960, and I'm going to be reading Daniel Deronda by George Eliot. I have actually read a book by George Eliot, Middlemarch, in the past, and I really liked it. I don't know, it was like marriage and what that means, and really forward thinking for the time, I believe. And then Daniel Deronda is about a woman who notices a man looking at her who is like judging her and finding her wanting, and the encounter changes her life. And that is pretty much all I know about Daniel Deronda, but I was intrigued and I have liked George Eliot's works before. The next prompt is to read a horror comic, and I'm going to be using Thejumbies by Tracy Baptiste to fulfill this prompt. The next prompt is to read a book with a green cover, and I'm going to read The Devourers by Indra Das, and this sounds really interesting. The synopsis says, on a cool evening in Kolkata, India, beneath a full moon, as the whirling rhythms of traveling musicians fill the night, college professor Alok encounters a mysterious stranger with a bizarre confession and an extraordinary story. Tantalized by the man's unfinished tale, Alok will do anything to hear its completion. So Alok agrees at the stranger's behest to transcribe a collection of battered notebooks, weathered parchments, and once living skins. His interest grows and grows into something darker and more urgent. So I am very interested in reading that. It only has 3,000 ratings on Goodreads, which is not a lot. Transcribing collection of skins sounds right up my alley for some reason. So the next prompt that I want to fulfill, so those 4 were for this bingo, and then I also want to get this one as well. And the next prompt is to read a book by an Asian author, and I'm going to be reading The Ghost Bride by Yangzi Chu, which I hope I'm saying right. This is about a daughter who has few prospects, and her family has her marry a ghost, basically, into a rich family, and the son who's died and is the ghost, he died under mysterious circumstances. I am so intrigued by this story. I cannot wait to read this, and I'm so thankful for the Artisan Geek for putting this list together, because all of these I would have never heard of, and I am genuinely so excited to read this book specifically because it sounds so good. The next is a translated work, and a lot of these I think would work for translated books, but I'm going to be reading Malice by Keigo Higashino, and this is about a novelist who's found murdered in his home on the night before he's planning to leave Japan and relocate to Vancouver. His body is found in his office, a locked room within his locked house, by his wife and best friend, both of whom seem to have rock solid alibis. And then I guess this is the first in a series of a police detective, Kyoichiro Kaga. So I'm assuming it's like a Agatha Christie with Hercule Poirot sort of vibe, but set in Japan. And it also kind of gives me, I think, what's that movie called? Knives Out or whatever. Love a cozy murder mystery. Don't know how cozy this will be. So the last prompt for Fortnight Frights is a book written by an LGBTQ author, and this book sounds nuts. It's called The Obscene Bird of Night by Jose Donoso. It's about the last member of an aristocratic family who has a mutation. He's protected from the knowledge of his deformity by being surrounded with other freaks as companions. I'm just reading what this says. I just think it sounds fascinating. It only has 2,200 ratings on Goodreads, so it's also not super well known. It's also translated, so that might be why like it's not popular within an English-speaking country, but it might be more popular in Spanish-speaking countries. So it's 13 books total. I am so excited for all of these books. There's a variety of books in here, so I don't think, like, I don't have a ton of thrillers or necessarily ghost stories. Like, it's a good mix, a good mishmash of lots of different things. I just can't wait for all the witches to come out and the ghosts and to be scared. This is a very deceptively short TBR because this doesn't include any of my books from Fortnight Frights. I cannot wait to get scared and see all the witches and the ghosts and to hear what other people are reading for these 2 readathons and get more recommendations for all of the spooky books. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!